Would you rather? Hey there, welcome back for another week of Would You Rather. This week, our theme is horror versus reality. Horror versus reality. We're gonna find out what's scarier, what's more unsettling, the horror genre or real life. A lot of potential here, a lot of different ways we could go with this. Out of one of these two options, one option is gonna come from the horror genre, whereas the other thing actually exists. And it's gonna be up to us to decide which reality would we rather live in, the horror reality or the real reality. So obviously, with this premise, if you pick the horror option, it negates the real option, right? Because otherwise, what would be the point of the question? If you pick the option from the horror genre, whatever the real thing is, ceases to be real. So it's a give and take. Let's go ahead and jump into our first question of the week. Question number 1. Would you rather the T-virus from Resident Evil be a real chemical compound? Or would you rather the world's nations stockpile nuclear weapons? Oh boy. Okay, so we're dealing with some apocalyptic level shit here. Resident Evil's T-virus versus nuclear weapons. Aw, man. No thank you, either side to this question. As hard as this decision is to make, though, we've got to make one. That's how this game works. You got to pick one of the two. So if we decide that we want the T-virus to be real, nuclear weapons don't exist. They were never invented. They are not on this planet anywhere at all. But at what cost? All right, so in case you don't know, the T-virus is the chemically engineered pathogen created by the nefarious Umbrella Corp, evil research and development corporation that, weaponizes anything they can for $1. They engineered this T-virus, which brings a dead body back to life, a zombie. And then, as a side effect, it's contagious. So as you can imagine, even though this pathogen was kept in a closed environment, it escaped. It breached their facility and infected the entire Raccoon City, going on to then infect other cities and other places throughout the world, jump-starting the zombie apocalypse. That's Resident Evil. So would you rather that be real, the T-virus actually be a real pathogen that was actually created? And let's say in this hypothetical situation that if you pick this option, the T-virus is still in the lab. So it could potentially not breach out and destroy the world with its zombie apocalypse, but it also very well could, because that's what it did in Resident Evil, and it's done it not once or twice or 3 times, but like in 6 movies and like 20 video games. So it's very likely that it could breach out into the world and start the zombie apocalypse, but we don't know. That's this hypothetical situation, right? So we have the T-virus on one hand, our horror reality, but then we have our actual reality, which is nuclear weapons are a thing, and nuclear weapons exist. I don't think I have to explain what a nuclear weapon is, but let's do it anyways. It is the biggest weapon of mass destruction known to mankind. Let's actually look this up. I'm gonna look this up, the very top of Wikipedia. Nuclear weapons possess enormous destructive power from nuclear fission or combined fission and fusion reactions. Building on scientific breakthroughs made during the 1930s, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada collaborated during World War II in what was called the Manhattan Project to counter the suspected Nazi German atomic bomb project. In August 1945, 2 fission bombs were dropped on Japan, standing to date as the only use of nuclear weapons in combat. The Soviet Union started development shortly thereafter with their own atomic bomb project, and not long after that, both countries developed even more powerful fusion weapons known as hydrogen bombs. As frightening and devastating as a zombie apocalypse would be to society, to us individually, to everything, are nuclear weapons really that much better or safer? Nuclear weapons have the power to end civilization as we know it. Not only can one of these weapons destroy an entire city in one blink of an eye, in one moment, but they're stockpiled throughout the entire world. There's thousands, tens of thousands of these things, I'm sure, that are armed and ready to deploy at this moment, at this very moment. And as we've all speculated in fear, if one of these things is launched by one country, there's a good chance that that's going to send a chain reaction of countries shooting these things off back and forth and then leading us into the nuclear holocaust, an absolute global event of nuclear fallout. And in this scenario, we are faced with not only the damage done by the weapons itself, but the residual radiation that devastates the planet, nature, and life for decades to come. It would be considered a global extinction event, which I believe is where 60% of the life on the planet is killed due to one event. I believe we've had 6 or 7 of these in the planet's lifetime, as I learned from Neil deGrasse Tyson on Cosmos. But a nuclear holocaust could well be another man-made global extinction event. And that's real. That's real life. Whew. There's a lot of data to weigh here, a lot of different outcomes and possibilities to consider, but what would you choose? Would you rather the T virus be real or nuclear weapons exist? So that's our question today. Let me know what your answer is down in the comments. I would love to know how you slice and dice this problem, what you would decide. And again, this is going to be our theme for the week, horror versus reality. Do you have a good would you rather question in this theme? Where you pit up something that exists in the horror genre versus something that actually exists in real life, and that it's actually kind of hard to decide which one you should choose. You think it would be obvious, but it's not always that obvious. So I'd love to hear, do you have a good would you rather question? And there you have it. We've got a lot of hypotheticals to explore this week, so strap in. It's gonna be a doozy. See you tomorrow.
Would